I managed to get through 38 games this Steam Next Fest, so let's go through some of my thoughts. The Posthumous Investigation is a noir mystery where you're hired by a dead man to find his murderer, and you're trapped in a time loop until you can solve the case. I did enjoy the general clue gathering, quests, and character interrogations. In its current state, the lack of music at parts was very noticeable. And then when there was music, 90% of it was the same hi-hat beat that drove me insane. Quit Today is a side-scrolling corporate beat-em-up that sees you fighting your way up the levels and on a quest to hand in your resignation to HR. I liked the concept and I liked the kind of Newgrounds vibe to it, but ultimately I found the combat rather slow and repetitive at these early stages, so it didn't grab me. In particular, the minigames of having to save the old gentleman from heart attacks was a choice. That kind of classic beat-em-up might be good for some, but I prefer a lot more speed to my action games, so this definitely was not for me. Speaking of speed, Realm of Ink is an action roguelite that shares a lot of influences with the iconic Hades, but it also does a lot of work to make its own mark with beautiful setting and distinct art style, and the introduction of a little inkling pet whose abilities and appearance change alongside you. All the different abilities and power-ups and elemental choices are really fun and engaging. The combat is so buttery smooth. I'm just so excited to see more of this. Rotwood is a hack and slash dungeon crawler from the team behind Don't Starve that, while definitely fun on its own, the real fun comes from joining up with friends. The core combat will be familiar to players of Cult of the Lamb, with a variety of level ups to select as you progress. However, the game also includes a fun crafting mechanic that lets you create powerful gear from the corpses of the monstrous foes you defeat. It's a whole lot of fun, and I'm incredibly keen to play more with friends this time because I did get the chance to do multiplayer throughout the Next Fest. Tales of Kenzera Zao is a beautiful African-influenced Metroidvania that sees you on a quest with the god of death to reclaim your father's spirit. It was such a joy to play. The combat was smooth, the exploration was rewarding, the voice acting impeccable. I love the different mix of different mask abilities and when to use each different side of the mask. With this being a new team led by industry professionals and backed by Electronic Arts, you can tell they've put a lot of work into making it a very well-polished experience. Terra Memoria is a turn-based RPG where a group of 6 adventurers are setting out to save the world from awakened ancient machines. The crafting and exploration were fun, and the combat I particularly enjoyed their kind of element system with guard breaks. However, what I really appreciated as a time-poor adult was the ability to fast forward through the extensive dialogue and the multi-stage quest tracker that provides actually useful intel you might have missed by skipping said dialogue. That's something that's surprisingly lacking in a lot of RPGs, and it's incredibly valuable. 3 Goblin Wobblin is a silly little awkward physics game about 3 goblins in a trench coat trying to pass as a human to try to procure a mug of ale. I enjoyed the goofiness of it, especially with the even goofier collectible hats, but one thing I really detested was that if you're navigating something like a narrow side alley, there is no camera repositioning, so you can barely see yourself, let alone incoming people and obstacles you have to try and navigate around. That was just too awkward, not fun awkward. Synergy is a city builder where you have to live in balance and harmony with nature to survive in a harsh environment. This is another city builder where I got completely lost through a lack of direct tutorial. It started off well until I realised that while my people were very dedicatedly gathering resources as I instructed for the past half hour, there was zero progress being made to the quest goals because that was an entirely separate procedure involving a very specific building, and it didn't really tell me that. However, the articles praised in this game do make it feel like perhaps I was just cursed with dog brain. It was late at night when I played this, so try it for yourself and see if you had the same issues, or maybe it was just me. Under the Yoke is a surf sim where you get to experience a life of pleasant peasantry. This is unfortunately yet another game that I ended up bouncing off. I found the controls rather obtuse and clunky. I didn't get to spend all that much time on it because I couldn't even figure out the initial tasks of working on the fields or even just socializing. Again, at this point it was late, so maybe I was just struck by horrible dog brain, but I have zero desire to return to this game, unfortunately. Children of the Sun is a strategy shooter that sees you lining up your shot, trying to take out all the foes in an area with a single bullet. I found the additional abilities pretty hard to perfect and control, as well as having to very carefully time the shot with mobile targets, but it was incredibly rewarding to pull off the perfect shot, and the slowly unraveling backstory is really dark and intriguing. Then finally, Mullet Jack. This was an ultra-fast shooter set in a hypercolor 80s cyberpunk anime setting. Your mission is to run and gun your way through randomly generated levels of a tower to save the damsel, but you only have 10 seconds to live, with every kill adding precious seconds to your time. It is a blast. I love the special item kills, and the ability to disable the camera tilt definitely stayed to my stomach. But I will say, with the nature of randomly generated levels, they do get so repetitive and samey. So I hope that maybe at least between the milestone levels, things really switch it up a bit. You can check out the full videos over on YouTube, or follow me here for even more indie game recommendations.